let's see, we're going to be talking, oh, thank you, Beth. We're going to be recording. So please just know that. We're going to be talking about SPARQS. Victoria is going to be talking to us about the launch of the SPARQS program and sort of what's been going on in these early days. Courtney will be joining us. Courtney Isham will be joining us from CCD to talk about the STARS program. And then Dora is going to start sharing all of the wonderful data that was recently released in the state of Vermont Children's. So very exciting, very full agenda. So if you could take a moment and introduce yourself in the chat, that would be helpful for those of us who are newly joining. I'm looking around, I think everyone has attended the meetings before. I don't want to belabor that. Yay. Oh, Jen will also be presenting. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's, Victoria, as we start to queue up here, are there, well, before we get started, are there any, I'm terrible at this, Beth, as you can see. Are there any?
You're doing great. Go for it, Dawn.
I just was like, are there any updates? But we probably shouldn't do updates yet. We should probably wait until the end if there's any additional, because we're going to have lots and lots and lots of things to ponder here. So, Victoria, looks like you are all ready?
We are ready to go. So thank you for inviting us here. We're excited to tell everyone a little bit about how the rollout of SPARQS, or the System for Program Access to Resources for Quality Supports, has been going these past few months. The team leads are here for the respective components of SPARQS, so they'll go into a little more detail about each component and how the rollout's gone, and then we'll save some time at the end for questions and answers and feedback. So we're also open to feedback and thoughts, so please feel free to share. So I want to take a moment to refresh everyone on the goal of SPARQS. The overarching goal is to support a culture of quality across the ECE landscape and to ensure equitable access to evidence-based resources that promote program quality. So what do we mean by a culture of quality? Research has shown us time and time again that interactions matter when it comes to positive outcomes for children. Interactions between educators and children, between educators and guardians, between children and children. So our program focuses on these interactions. In addition, we know that a well-supported workforce leads to educators being able to bring their best self to those interactions. And finally, we know that growth needs to be continuous, and therefore reflective practice needs to be embedded at all levels of the system. In terms of equitable access to resources, what we've seen is historically that certain areas of Vermont are under-resourced, and certain populations have a difficult time accessing the resources that are available. So what we've aimed to do at SPARQS is create a program with the lowest barrier to entry so that all programs across the state can enjoy the support that is needed. We can go to the next slide, Meg. So what is the system? What is this system? This system is made up of 3 components that we believe will lead to that culture of quality and increased equity. The first component is a comprehensive coaching and support system that runs the gamut from self-directed resources to one-off referrals and technical assistance, all the way to more in-depth coaching and mentoring relationships. The second component, the point at which SPARQS directly intersects with STARS, is the scored assessments. We conduct the class assessments and collaborate with Vermont After School to conduct the PQA assessments. And finally, the third component of SPARQS is to support robust early childhood networks across the state through a dedicated network manager. With that, I will introduce Nikki Bearer, who is our lead assessor, who can talk a little bit about how the assessment has rolled out.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nikki Bearer.
I am the lead assessor for the SPARQS team. I'm really excited to be here with you this morning to talk to you about some of the work that we've been doing on the assessment side of the SPARQS team. Assessments rolled out in early November of last year. And since that time, we have been busily scheduling and visiting programs throughout the state of Vermont. In that time, we have received 164 assessment requests, and these are for scored assessments. I think it's helpful to make sure that we're making that identification here. These are just for scored assessment requests. Of these 164 requests that we've received, we've been able to schedule 128 program visits. Currently, there are 2 full-time assessors, myself and Brenda Windhausen. Currently, we're booked through June and are booking new visits into July, the beginning of July. Of these 164 assessments, there are 36 programs that have yet to be assigned. And so 15 of those 36 programs are going to be assigned to our new assessor, Evelyn Effinger, who will be joining our team next week. We're really excited to have her. And hopefully she'll be ready to hit the field mid-March. And then the remaining 21 programs have only begun the process of submitting paperwork for their scored assessment requests, and we're sort of waiting for them to finish that process so that we can get them on our books as well. Members of our assessment team, along with some help from some of our quality support specialists, have been able to complete observations at 24 different programs. Of these programs, 7 have been registered or licensed family childcare homes. 17 have been licensed center-based programs. And within all of these programs, we've been able to visit a total of 59 different classrooms within these settings. And I think it's also helpful to just point out, we do have 3 different tools that we use during a scored assessment. We have an infant class tool, a toddler class tool, and a pre-K class tool. And of those 3 different tools, we've completed 17 infant assessments, 19 toddler assessments, and 24 pre-K assessments. And I think just to point out, we are still looking to hire a freelance assessor or 2 that might be able to help us get through the backlog of programs that we currently have. And just for your knowledge, this information is up to date as of yesterday. So Meg, next slide, please. We thought it might be helpful to sort of break down some of the program requests that we've received. And so as you can see, we have gotten requests from every single county within the state of Vermont, which I think is pretty exceptional. And of course, we're seeing some of the higher numbers in some of the more populous regions of the state. But I think it's great that we have representation across the entire state. Programs throughout our state are looking to use these services. Next slide, Meg. Thank you so much. And I thought it would be helpful to just also share some information about the programs that we've completed assessments for. And so on this slide, you can just see we've visited programs in 10 of the 14 counties across the state. So far, a majority of the programs we've visited have been in Chittenden County, but we have also been across the state, up and down, north and south, east to west. So it's been great to get out in the field. All right, Meg, and then we can go to the next slide. And so aside from scored assessments, the other piece that we've been sharing with the field, we've been trying to get the word out about the class tools. that that we've been using as we visited programs. And to do this, we've created some introductory videos for each of the class tools that we use, the infant, toddler, and pre-K. And those have been posted to the SPARQS website and on YouTube. And we've gotten some great views of those. The infant introductory video has been viewed 164 times, the toddler 104, and the pre-K 139 views. So that's one way in which we've been trying to share information about the class tools with the field. And the final way that we've been working on this is to offer introductory class trainings to the field. So thus far, we've offered 7 total class trainings. We've offered 2 introductions to the infant class tool, 3 introductions to the toddler class tool, and 2 introductions to the pre-K class tool. And of those trainings, we've had 396 people register for all of them, and 320 have attended those trainings. So we've been able to share that information widely with members of the field. And I think one of the things that some of the feedback that we received from a couple of participants to these trainings was a concern that the class tools might not be as responsive to family childcare homes. And as the lead assessor, we took that information to heart here at the SPARQS team and tried to think about ways that we might be able to ease that fear. And some of what we had heard in the field that echoed that is that going into a family childcare home, we were using a tool for each age range represented in their program. And that seemed like a lot of assessment time, a lot of time to be in the program, because we were spending about 4 hours in a family childcare home, whereas we typically only spend about 2 hours per classroom that we visit in a licensed center-based program. So we heard that feedback from the field, and we approached the Child Development Division to ask if we could change our assessment strategy with family childcare homes and only use the toddler class tool, which is a nice melding of the infant tool and the pre-K tool. And the Child Development Division granted that request, and we're really excited to start using that new assessment strategy in the field, and hope that it's going to ease that concern held by some family childcare providers. All right, Megan, I think I've got one more slide that I am responsible for. And these are just some quotes that we've received in regards to assessments out in the field, and also from one of our class trainings that we've provided. And just want to give you guys a couple of minutes to read through these responses that we've gotten from members of the field. And then I'm going to turn it over to Brenda Metzler, who is our lead quality support specialist. Brenda.
Thanks for the introduction, Nikki. And good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you today. As Nikki said, I'm Brenda Metzler, and I am the lead quality support specialist. There are 6 quality support specialists, and I think we can go to the next slide, Meg. Thank you. And so there are 6 of us, and we serve the entire state. we soft launched in early December in response to engagement from early childhood educators. Programs were emailing us directly and asking when they could start meeting with us and when we could start going to their programs and when they could access our services, both class consultations and some form of technical assistance. So they were looking for coaching, or they were looking for mentoring or referral to resources. So I'm happy to report that we've been fully operational since mid-January, and requests are split almost 50-50 between coaching and class consultations. The numbers you see here were the stats at the end of the day on Monday. And anecdotally, Nikki's class trainings brought in about 1/3 of the consultation requests. The majority of coaching requests are related to STARS components in the following descending order. People want to see the whole STARS application. And right now it's in JOT form and you can only see the first page. So they want to be able to plan their approach to completing the application. And I'm thrilled that in close collaboration with the STARS team, we were able to quickly respond by creating a full view worksheet that programs can use while that new database is being built. So the STARS team shared the application with us, we created the worksheet, and now we're sharing it with everyone that we've been working with. The next most common request is people seeking to understand the class assessment tool. And as you heard, Nikki's been busy making that available to people. Her trainings have created a valuable resource for programs, and we've been sharing those widely. We first shared the schedule of the trainings, and now we've been sharing the recordings and her slide deck. And we're just getting a lot of positive feedback about that availability. Programs are asking for support to navigate the Strengthening Families Survey. They want to do it. They look at it. They feel it's daunting at first glance, and so they're helping. They are asking for help to navigate that. And programs are asking for support to navigate to develop their CQI plan. And so people are asking for that, but we anticipate an uptick in this moving forward, as people get the responses from their consultations, their class consultations, which are unscored requests or their scored request reports. We think this is going to pick up. So we are currently developing with the STARS team a community of practice on creating CQI plans. And a really exciting part of that is that we are developing a toolkit of samples of all of the acceptable documentation so that people will have things to reference and sort of a template or a guide, if you will. And finally, there have been requests not about STARS. So for support around things like challenging behaviors and staff development and internal program management. And we're tracking all of the requests to see if there are trends that emerge, and then, think about how we can be responsive to those trends or, all of the requests. I think it's safe to say that 99%, this is not an official math number here, but it feels to me like 99% of people who have engaged with the quality support specialists expressed initial concerns and anxiety that I really believe reflect this moment in time with all of the changes, but it was immediately followed by relief and gratitude and renewed commitment. And that's very exciting for us. And I think I've just said a lot of words. And so Meg has created a beautiful slide. Meg, we can go to that, which just offers a visual and sort of simplifies all of that information. So I'll just give you like a few moments with that. And then finally, another slide which speaks for itself. And I'm again going to give you a few moments to read these quotes from people we've been working with. And when I asked, I'll stop talking truly in a moment, but when I asked the team, I think you need to know that when I asked the team for quotes, it was 4 pages. I dropped, as they came in, I dropped them into a Word document, and it wasn't even large font. So I'm just going to stop talking now so you can read 4 that we selected to share with you. It's really energizing. It's really energizing for us to be doing this work and to be getting this kind of feedback. And yes, we do hear the, oh my gosh, at the top, but then we get to this. And this is so affirming. And I think it's affirming of the work that we're all doing collectively. And I'm going to hand it over to, I think, Meg to talk about the networks.
Thank you, Brenda. Hi, everybody. I am Meg Atwood, the Program Manager for ECE Networks and Resources. So I oversee the Vermont Early Childhood Networks and then support the rest of the SPARQS teams with training resources and resources on the website. So just kind of wanted to refresh us to where we are in the process, the bigger picture of the networks with resharing this timeline that probably some of you have seen to just let you know that we are on this kind of in between 4 and 5 step. So we've surveyed the field, asked some really great questions, got a ton of amazing feedback in our survey. Myself and Beth Wallace did a lot of work sessions supported by the rest of the SPARQS team to create our draft of the strategic plan, which we submitted to the Child Development Division last week. So we are in this again between 4 and 5. And so I'm going to share a little bit about the strategic plan, pending feedback, pending changes, to kind of let you know where we're headed. And so before I talk about where we're headed, I also just like to remind like how we got to this point. You saw the visual of it. Here's a written description that again, we surveyed the field, submitted our strategic plan. And so what's kind of coming next is there is going to be an application process for the Vermont Early Childhood Networks to make sure that we have all of the information about the networks. There has been changes in kind of network leaders, very minor ones, but we just want some great baseline data to work with and to start this new year off well. It's also our opportunity to share definitions with both the leaders, their members, and the field at whole is what is a network? What's that leadership structure going to look like? And what defines being a network member? I am super excited that within our SPARQS portal, we have a question where we are really going to be able to identify who's a member. And if they're not a member, that we can refer them to their network leader that makes the most sense to support those network leaders with membership recruitment. So if they're coming into our system for assessments or coaching, they're also going to get that same information. And so I love how the 3 components work together in that way. During this process, we're continuing to develop kind of resources that leaders and members may need to kind of make their administrative tasks of being a network leader easier, as well as hearing the feedback of their members, what they need, and working hand in hand with a quality support specialist to share those resources out. We're going to share all of this information with our network leaders at some statewide network leader meetings, and then develop some of the other systems that you'll see on our implementation timeline in a few slides. So, what does our strategic plan look like and where did it come from? Again, it was built upon the survey data. Really that kind of top 5 values and challenging aspects guided a lot of our work within that strategic plan. So network leaders identified that they wanted help with budgeting, marketing, communication, and planning both social events and professional development. So you'll see a lot of those strategies within our strategic plan represented. But we also made sure that we kept the values that were most important to them and their members, with this idea of still networking within with each other. It's also about information resource sharing, setting up professional development, and truly that connection piece. You saw that as one of the goals of the SPARQS in general, is there is this idea that through the networks that people are connected and well-resourced. And we do that through the networks as well as the other components. And the last value is making sure they have access to materials and equipment that the children can use. So our large focus areas of our strategic plan have to do with professional development, growing leaders, what does the membership structure look like, and again, what resources can we provide through technical assistance. So how we're going to do that? Beth put this amazing visual together that I think sums it up in a big picture sense, what we are hoping to look forward to the next year. And so we are in this getting ready to kind of introduce the plan. There are a couple kind of details and supporting documents that we are working on creating right now that include defining what it means to be a leader, defining what it means to member, and some of the forms both leaders and members are going to be using is in development right now. Pending approval of strategic plan, it looks like we are going to have people apply to be a network, and then we're going to review their proposals. We're going to work with those network leaders to kind of tweak and approve their proposals, offering them technical assistance and outreach along the way. Something that's a little bit bigger on that I'm personally really excited about is not only are we hoping to offer regional networks, but we're also hoping to offer some statewide networks based on role and topic area to reach a more wider audience. We are going to make sure we collect feedback from everybody along the way, and we're hoping to do that in August and September to line up with like fiscal years. So that's why we chose that month. We think that our annual conference that we provide every year is an amazing opportunity to get people in person. So we're going to hope to offer some facilitated network at the conference because so many of early childhood educators come to that. And then we are going to look at some bigger CQI. We're always thinking about goal setting along the way. And so that CQI process means for the larger system of the networks. And then kind of in unofficial year 2, we are hoping to develop a community practice specific for new leaders, supported by kind of more like seasoned leaders, either as guest speakers or help with facilitation. And I've already heard from a few of our network leaders who are really excited for that opportunity. And so I said, I'm holding your email. I have their email, but I was like, I'm adding you to my short list. That sounds wonderful. So it's been really exciting. That's kind of the big picture. There's a whole lot of strategies and details embedded into this as we tweak the strategic plan. And then I'll end with just a quick snapshot of where we have been for the last couple of months. I will say that this is reflected just from October to December. The month of January, like next quarter, is even more than this. In case you don't know, we currently have 12 regions, and within those 12 regions, 23 networks make up those 12 regions. I broke up the assistance that I'm offering and the quality supports offering into 2 different categories. One being like TA support, usually answering questions around like budgets, how to submit payments, kind of thing like more black and white examples. So that's what that number is. In that sense, we've offered 25 different trainings. Some of those numbers are from the conference, and SPARQS funding was used for that. The other type of support we're offering is a little bit less black and white, and really thinking about how to grow leaders, how to support leaders in communicating with their fellow co-leaders, and thinking about a little bit more big picture, the support we're offering. We have built into our system, we're going to be building in to get a better under like how many network members there are. We don't have a strong sense of that. And I'm also excited to start tracking attendance so we can better get where, because we know that networks range from 6 members to like 40 members. And I'm excited for some concrete data there. Just like all of our other sections, we had a few quotes here that I'll let you read. Anecdotally, which is where a lot of the feedback is coming from, a lot of the like sense of relief has been a kind of co-partner in managing their budgets, a co-partner in setting up professional development. I have a network in which they had tried for 6 months to set up this specific opportunity, and we are just about ready to cross the finish line for this training that they're doing. And so they're like, the amount of phone calls you've had to make for me, I'm really appreciative of it. And so when they're in classroom and don't have a chance to call people who also only work daytime hours, it's been nice to have a partner in making phone calls and coordinating things. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Victoria to kind of talk about the larger system as a whole.
Yeah, thank you, Meg. So hopefully that was kind of a comprehensive rollout of SPARQS and where we've been. And now I wanted to talk a little bit about how we will know if we're being successful. The key to our success is engagement. Engagement in the various components of SPARQS and cross-collaboration with partner organizations. A few years down the road, we hope to see increased and continuous program participation in STARS. We hope that class scores will gradually increase across the board as a direct result of our efforts in all 3 components and our responsive PD efforts. We hope our services will be utilized in all regions of Vermont across all types of programs. And we hope the networks are robust, inclusive, and a place for educators to grow their leadership skills. So I'll give you a few minutes to look at some of the other key points that we're looking towards for signs of success, and also to ask any questions that you may have, or any comments or feedback that came up for you. Any questions?
I didn't expect this group to be this quiet.
Valerie?
Oh, there you go.
Hi, so I'm Valerie Wood. I'm the Early Childhood System Evaluator at Building Bright Futures. And I just want to express appreciation for your presentation today. As the new evaluator at Building Bright Futures, I'm supporting all of the groups that are implementing activities in Vermont's PDG grants. And so to hear about the ways in which you're supporting all childcare, but specifically family childcare homes, was really great this morning. And I was really tuned in when you talked about some of the ways in which you got real-time feedback and then incorporated that into changing your approach. And it's just a really wonderful and strong example of continuous quality improvement in action. So I just wanted to celebrate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. I think that's one of the strong points. Like, we all want to be doing that continuous quality improvement in all parts of the system, and certainly with the SPARQS system. Meg, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I want to commend you. I think that I have heard a lot of anxiety about the new STARS system, the new assessments. I talked actually yesterday to a couple of teachers at a program who have an assessment coming up. And I talked last week to a different program that has an assessment coming up in our region. And all of them are incredibly anxious before the assessment, and pretty much universally feel better after somebody has been to their program. So that's my comment. My question is, I spend a lot of time talking with our local programs, and I spend a lot of time coaching with our local programs, especially pre-K. And I'm wondering how we can be collaborative so that we're not giving mixed messages to programs about what they need to be doing and supporting them in developing quality.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Megan. For me, it's like keeping that communication open about what you're doing, where you are. And certainly, you know, one of the things that we've tried to do at Vermont AYC is strategically have our department heads sit on different committees throughout the state. So I was talking with Tammy about that early MTSS state leadership meeting, just so that I have a full understanding of the trajectory of that systems. But what I think has been really helpful for us thus far is just the cross collaboration. We met with a lot of different partner organizations last week with the quality support specialists who also have coaches going out into the field to kind of define our scope of work and the roles so that we're clear on everyone's roles before we're out there explaining it. And I would certainly welcome that opportunity with the Agency of Education and any coaches that you have heading out into the field.
Yeah, I think my role is a little unique in the state because I'm the regional universal pre-K coordinator. But the way that I approach that job is maybe different from the way others do. So certainly I've worked with a lot of programs around early MTSS, but also just quality pieces in general. So I think it would be great for us to connect, not here.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions?
Victoria, it looks like there's one in the chat from Cynthia. Can you find it?
I can also ask it. Sorry, Victoria. Hi, this
Oh,
is
no,
Cynthia.
that's okay. I read it. I think that's, yeah, sorry, go on. Did you have more to add to it?
No, no. Let me leave it there. Leave it at the question as is.
Yeah, I think right now what we've found is that, again, that sort of bridge to other partners is really important. So I'm working with one of our quality support specialists now and the CIS regional group up in Lamoille County to plan an event for their partners. So recognizing the experience of people that have been doing this work or are out there and have connections to the field, and then building on those relationships. So again, like, we're just really open to and excited about collaboration and in unifying the systems across the state, because there are so many different systems and we want to make sure they're all working together. And I think partner organizations can help us in terms of just getting the word out there. I think we've done a pretty good job about making sure everyone knows we're here at this point. But any time you hear a program struggling or maybe needs help, or please send them our way, and we can certainly drop the link in the chat to our intake system.
Sounds good. And just a quick follow-up thought I have after listening to you. I wonder if at the next AEYC conference, if there would be something around bringing community partners together to either speak with network leaders or speak with the SPARQS system and really think about how can community partners support the system? What do they have to offer in terms of, areas of expertise and coaching topics, whether that be, again, CIS or nutrition security and food security or other topics of interest. And so just might be a nice way to bring other community partners in. I have colleagues in other networks asking about this system and kind of what's the right time to tap in and how could we tap in, knowing that the field is also rightfully so completely focused on the new stars in class and all of that. So, but wondering down the line, like 18 months from now, 2 years from now, what does it look like to sort of integrate and support this system with topics down the line? So just thinking ahead. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia. We will certainly keep that in mind. And I did see a question in the chat about adding other networks. And I do know that this is, again, a time to like welcome all, bring them in. There's that application process that Meg talked about that will be further down the road. But we really want to reduce barriers to entry. And if there are other people that are interested and want to go through that process, they should certainly connect with Meg.
Victoria, I'll just add to that
Yeah.
we expect, again, this is all kind of hypothetical until the strategic plan is approved by CDD. So we're careful about, details. But the idea is to have regions submit proposals and to really help facilitate dialogue and collaboration among regions, because some have historically had more success with that than others. And to get regions to think kind of innovatively and about, given this statewide network structure that may look at, a directors group, a family child care group, an infant toddler group, what does that mean for regional networks? And it may mean that, some smaller networks are folded into other networks. And it may mean that new networks pop up based on geographic needs or other areas of interest and priority. So the short answer to that question is yes, new networks. There's room for new networks to form. But we're really encouraging that, to be thoughtful about what the needs of the regions are and kind of approach it with an open mind and a fresh slate.
Cynthia, I wanted to add a little bit to your question with the collaboration in terms of the network component. Is network leaders are often requesting a professional development that like starts a little vague and kind of is topic based. And so so I am always kind of getting, referring to the appropriate community partner when it's like especially where I know to refer to and stuff like that, including setting up that coordination of bringing in guest speakers to their network meetings and helping with that logistical piece of it. Included also one of our strategies later on is thinking about how we're sharing information across collaborative partners to not lead to kind of email fatigue. And so I am happy to also collect information and sort it for our network leaders when we put it into that communication system for them. So I think there's some great ways to share everybody's messages and some clear and concise opportunities that I'm really looking forward to.
Meg, thanks for that. That's actually really helpful. And I'm asking because we've had network leaders reach out to us for professional development. And again, we just want to make sure that the services that we're offering to networks are meeting these sort of new system updates and requirements. So I'll reach out to you separately. Thanks a bunch.
Perfect.
Beth, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Well, first I want to say, congrats to the VTAEYC team. I feel like the system that you've needed to build quickly and the way you're communicating about those changes clearly is really impressive. And I know it's taken a lot of work, so thank you. And all the staff who have been onboarded. It's a lot of change for an organization in a short period of time. My question is thinking about how, kind of similar to what Meg was talking about in terms of wanting to ensure that there is kind of coordination and also thinking about the role that coaches play in kind of those one-to-one interactions, but then being able to take that information back and identify kind of where are our system gaps and needs that SPARQS cannot meet, or that something needs to happen to be able to meet those needs, sometimes call for greater change than this program is able to do. And so just inviting and wanting us to think about how does that information get collected in terms of where, yes, of course, what the SPARQS team is able to meet, but also what you are hearing that indicates something else is needed in the system. And hoping that you will bring that back to, certainly that's Building Bright Futures' role to monitor the system and identify gaps and needs. And one of the things that this committee does is identify policy recommendations or changes to, making recommendations, whether it's to the governor and legislature or to our agency partners to say, there's something missing here to be able to fully support the team, and to help this committee and the State Advisory Council, which Sharon is a member, to be able to build those recommendations or somehow communicate to the people who have the ability to make those changes, so that the information isn't just circulating within the SPARQS team, but it really does communicate to certainly Building Bright Futures and others in the system who really care to and want to hear where those kind of gaps are and what is needed to be able to overcome them.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. That's insightful. And I think one of the things, because our grant reports do, right, that I've been really head down in that grant report. And one of the specific questions on the quarterly report is, what gaps are you noticing? So it's certainly something that all of our heads are thinking about as we're out in the field, and we'll make sure to communicate as we gain more insight into that.
Thanks, Victoria. And I just want to echo thanks for your amazing presentation, Nikki, Meg. Nikki, Brenda. Oh, I knew I would. That was just tremendous. And I'm so appreciative of all the work that you are doing and helping sort of calm some of those trepidations from the field that I think we're all hearing about the changes, great changes, but still changes to the STARS system and the system of supports in a more general sense that the field has needed, as well as the VECN changes. I'm very excited about that. I am reading the report right now, so no worries. No worries, it's on the queue. So thank you again for your hard work. So I'm going to move us to the next. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying thank you. We appreciate the chance to come here and hear the questions and get more feedback and share what we've been up to. So thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I think it's such an iterative process, right? I think we've launched something big and exciting, and that we're just going to have to continue to get feedback, revise, maybe expand, whatever it is, whatever needs to happen. So it's an exciting time of growth. I think Vermont is poised in an amazing space for the amount of good things that we're doing in the field simultaneously. So thanks. So I'm going to move us. We're right on time. Good for us. To the STARS introduction for Courtney. I'm gonna turn it over to her in just a moment. But many of you have met Courtney in a variety of different venues. But we wanted to make sure that Courtney was introduced to the ELD. As she assumes her new role. She's been here, just a little over 6 weeks, maybe. So she's now going to explain to you the entirety of the STARS system. JK. So Courtney, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. I guess first I would love to echo just the kudos that went to the SPARQS team. They have certainly been a huge piece of me learning the whole process of STARS and the interconnectedness with SPARQS. And I really see how, just how they played such a key role in softening it as it's gone out to the community and to partners and programs. So hello, everyone. I'm this new STARS program administrator. As Dawn shared, it started just over a month ago. And so I'm still very much learning the nuances of STARS, but I do know where to find the answers. So if you reach out and I don't have them, I will find them and follow up with you. I just wanted to share a little bit about my background. So I really started out in the mental health focus of my career, and then did a bit of a shift, really recognizing the crosswalks between that and education. And so I transitioned over to Head Start and worked with Head Start for many years as a home visitor and then a preschool teacher and then supervisor. And so from there, I transitioned to Sarah Holbrook Community Center as the associate director, where we had programming for, at the time, we had programming for toddlers of 15 months all the way through high school graduation. And then I have found myself here really excited to engage in continuous quality improvement and supporting programs as they join us in that. So we have a few STARS updates that I'd like to share with you today. The first one is we have extended the period that was previously known as the pilot period. So that has been extended to June 30th, 2025. There were a few factors that really led us to making that decision, including recognizing the level of interest in supports from the SPARQS team and their current timeline for being able to offer those supports, particularly looking at the assessments and coaching. There was such a high response from the field, and we really felt like in order to really support programs fully, we wanted to extend this period to let them engage with those supports fully before submitting or as part of submitting their application. One of the benefits of programs submitting their applications before that June 30th date, even if their renewal date isn't before then, is that they can secure their current STARS level. And so that really opens it up to this period being a learning period for them of being able to maintain that level and identifying what level they want to achieve or maintain within the new system and learn the new system how to do that. Then the other piece of update I wanted to share with you is that we are currently planning for the quality and incentive program. And we're also in the process of designing a resource packet program that we hope to launch in the spring. And we'll have more updates to come on that soon. And then lastly, we are continuing to do trainings throughout the state. And so we are doing some of those with VECNs and then also other groups that have reached out to us, including, and then also through the Northern Lights website. So if you are interested in a training or you are part of a group and identify that it would be really helpful, please reach out to us to let us know. I think that caps off all the updates I had.
And I feel certain that there's questions, so let's open it up for those inquiries. Really? To fill in some things that Courtney said, we are going to design a survey to the field about the quality and capacity incentive program that the monies will come available July 1. We've certainly heard the feedback about providers being concerned that there was no incentive paired with STARS and that they felt like there needed to be, they missed the rate differential because it felt like there was something for them to aim to or to sort of target their eyes to. So we're going to be asking, what do you feel like would be a good incentive for you as we start to think about that pot of money? The resource packets will include things like the Teachstone dictionary cards, and it will also be an application process, not because people won't be able to get them, but we want to give some folks some options of materials that they may choose. And I don't want to talk about the materials yet because we are working on contracts. So until I have a signed contract, I promise nothing. In my 1 year in the state, I have learned contracts take a lot longer than you expect. But that's using the tail end of the ARPA money. So we really do want to get that process out fairly quickly. And we have a new communications person, Nicole Bear, who is wonderful, and she is putting together communications plans for many of these programs. It's been delightful to have a professional who is dedicated to that. So we'll be sharing more and more information as those contracts get signed. Well, if there's no questions, I'm going to turn it over to Dora and Jen, which this is a big, big piece of information. Dora, I've been enjoying when I see you on the news talking about this report. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to come and present about the state of Vermont's children and a little bit about our data portfolio a little bit on a broader scale. I'm going to have Jen present about a few things, and then we'll get into some data.
Great. Thanks, Dora. Do you want to present the slides, or would you like me to, Dora?
I can do that.
Awesome. Great. So before we jump in, there's a lot of folks on the call today who have been a part of getting us information and data to inform the State of Vermont's Children Report. So thanks to all of you and your teams that have helped us along the way to publication. Really, really appreciate it. And some of you might have been at the briefing already. So if you have additional details or contacts that you would like to provide, or questions that have come up between when we published or when you saw the briefing and now, please jump in with those. All right. So we're going to just start by talking about Vermont's early childhood data portfolio. So it's kind of like a big mouthful, but what we mean when we say that is just thinking about the data that includes both the qualitative information and the quantitative data that we are all collecting about Vermont's early childhood system in Vermont. The State of Vermont's Children Report is known as our most known part of our data portfolio, with over 100 indicators at the state and regional level, with context to help us understand what that information means and why it matters in the state as a whole, and in your communities and in your networks specifically. However, as you can see here, we have a much bigger scope of work that we are also touching upon with the data portfolio. So the blue items here show those where we're gathering, aligning, analyzing, and prioritizing data. Several of our roles are related to monitoring policies, strategies, and programs, just like Beth was talking about earlier. And it's really good to be able to tell if what we're doing is working, right? That's what we hope to use data for. If there's ways to make it better, if there's things that we should stop doing or be doing more of, to move the work forward in that continual quality improvement lens. The green items are how we are sharing information with the early childhood system. And the State of Vermont's Children is just one of those, but you can see there's a number of them that we strive to keep updated. Any questions on this piece? All right. Moving along. All right. So Vermont's Early Childhood Portal, or vermontkidsdata.org. The portal is where BVF is centralizing the quantitative data that's collected by partners at the state, local, and national levels. These are the mostly indicators that we can gather over time. So something that we're capturing year over year or quarter over quarter, so we can see that change over time. We have a good foundation of indicators already in place. Dora and I have been doing quite a bit of work on this over the last couple of weeks. but there's always data that we would like to add. If you have data and indicators that are not currently represented, if you take time to check out vermontkidsdata.org, but they fit the criteria, please let us know how we can help integrate your information into the portal. So, for example, the number of children who are being served by CCFAP is a number that you can easily find here on vermontkidsdata.org. We're getting that information directly from the CDD team and make it publicly available here so folks can have an understanding of how that's changing over time. Under basic needs, you can choose an indicator and kind of dive deeper into those pieces to better understand how the basic needs are impacting, or how basic needs are being met for our communities. And there's a lot of information here, but we think that we'll have more as we continue to partner with CDD on specifically the Act 76 monitoring. We hope to be able to publish some more information about how that law and the work that CDD and others are doing in implementation are impacting that. Yeah, what did I miss, Dora?
I think you got it. There's a ton of information on there. We're in the process of adding more, but really wanted to get it out there and see if there are changes that we need to make or in the workflow. We really want this to be publicly accessible data, all in the centralized place, which is what we've been moving towards for a long time. So I'm really excited to have this up and live. And again, as Jen said, if there's data that you don't see there, we might be already working on it, and if not, then let us reach out and we can get it up. So really excited about that, and would love your feedback. Any questions before we move on? Okay. So the state of Vermont's children is mandated by state law for us to give at the beginning of each legislative session about the state of Vermont's children. This is also one of the places where even the data portal provides a little bit more of a holistic picture. When you click on basic needs, you can see more than just the specific indicator you're looking for, but the state of Vermont's children really is this comprehensive, objective, data-driven document. So it's all in one place. That's really our goal. And as Jen said, we really work with all of you and so many. I think there were over 100 data sources and data stewards who we worked with to make sure that we were getting the context right, in addition to accurate data. We wanted to, based on the content of early learning and development, really wanted to focus on enrollment of regulated childcare, UPK, talk a little bit about exclusionary discipline and third grade reading. So we'll sort of fly through those and then we can come back to them, because obviously each of those has huge implications for some of the topics that you all are focusing on. So in terms of childcare enrollment, there are so many things that the data that we have on childcare enrollment actually comes from immunization data, which is absurd in my opinion. Like this is the best information that we have. It is, Vermont is not the only state that isn't able to capture full enrollment, but it's again something that we're working towards as a state and as a well-documented gap. But we do see here again that we're almost 17,000 children enrolled in regulated childcare. We don't have enrollment information around after school, but we do have desired capacity or reported capacity of 11,233 slots. And again, those are in regulated after school programs, not necessarily like the broader definition that Vermont after school uses. In terms of UPK enrollment, this actually we do have actual total enrollment because of the way that it is funded through the Agency of Education, and they're sort of tracking by at the student level. As you can see, the number of children has almost reached pre-pandemic levels, but we're not quite there, and it is a similar sort of breakdown as it has been. Around 58% are enrolled in privately operated programs and 42% in school-based programs. In terms of exclusionary discipline, again, we don't have sort of the childcare system broadly, but for universal pre-K, between September 2022 and October 2023, there were 101 incidents of exclusion, often for more than one incident for a single child, and 5 incidents of restraint and seclusion. Clearly, I think this group has talked a lot about exclusionary discipline, and so and all of the implications and inputs and policy changes, and so, but again, helpful to have a little bit of the context and data here. The last thing that I'm gonna just talk through is 3rd grade reading, and 3rd grade reading is one of the sort of metrics that we use, outcomes that we use to talk about the early childhood system writ large. We see that there are 40 in the 2022 assessments, which is the most recent data that we had access to. 41% of all students were reading proficiently, down from 50% in 2019. And as you can see here, obviously there are, between like historically marginalized and historically advantaged, significant differences in the percent of students reading proficiently. We also have, because of the pandemic and because of the change in 3rd grade assessments, we have a 4-year period of inconsistent assessment data, and we'll never truly be able to compare to pre-pandemic proficiency rates. So in the 2019-2020 school year, there were no assessments conducted. The 2020-2021 data is unable to be compared to any other year. The 21-22 data was biased in who was not assessed. And spring 2023 was the first year of a new assessment. So again, we expect to have solid baseline data for future monitoring efforts beginning with this spring's data collection. So again, as we're thinking about this really concrete indicator that we have relied on heavily in terms of monitoring the early childhood system, this gap is significant to note. So I am going to stop there and open things up for questions. Egg.
Thanks for that. I guess I'm I have always been curious about how pre-K attendance correlates with some of the later assessments that we have. And I know, when a child is enrolled in publicly funded pre-K, they are assigned the student ID number by the Agency of Education that they then keep for the remainder of their school career. So it seems as though that could be tracked at a state level, that, a child who was enrolled in pre-K, right, at the age of 3 or 4, we would know when that number was assigned and could see whether their reading scores were different in 3rd grade, for example. It would be an interesting study if we could figure it out.
Absolutely. Great point. And I think this speaks a little bit to some of our longstanding state advisory council policy recommendations about investing in data systems, as well as the capacity of the people who are implementing those systems. So I am not an expert in the AOE state longitudinal data system, and hypothetically, I would hope that we would be able to do that sort of disaggregation of 3rd grade assessments or of 4th grade assessments, or and beyond. And it is sorry, it's I'm just seeing some comments in the chat, and we don't have the capacity to be able to track that. Something that you and I have talked about is even getting basic 1-year data out around Teaching Strategies Gold. We've been asking for it for about 4 years, and there just isn't the capacity to be able to do it. So I think we are working under the preschool development grant around sort of data integration and alignment. And so, yes, and great point.
Yeah, and I guess, the TS Gold pieces would be probably a priority above the longitudinal stuff, but yeah, I run those numbers locally. I have them again if you want them.
It's a great point, and thank you for bringing it up. I think that, again, if we're collecting all of this information, we need to be able to report it out. Some of the monitoring that we are doing really is about trying to make sure that things are working the way they were intended to. So if we're asking folks to collect and enter and provide all of this information, and then it is sitting on a shelf, that is not working in the way that we intended it to. And so it's really great to be able to have some additional capacity around through the preschool development grant to be able to have data stewards and policy folks come together to talk about what that linking and meaningful reporting looks like. What else is coming up for folks?
The return of the sun has stunned everyone into silence.
So we focused on these indicators just around the the focus of this committee, but it really is a well-rounded report. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the briefing, there was a really amazing panel of perinatal health experts who came to talk about the importance of that period and interventions and opportunities, including Elisa Stahlberg, who's the director of Family and Child Health, talking about the landscape of services, a home visitor talking about her experience, and then a parent who was talking about her experience as a with perinatal mood and anxiety disorders and accessing those services. Anything else? Well, if things come up, we are definitely around, and always looking for feedback on how to make the report more robust, what information, not everything will fit in. We do have this opportunity through the data portal to make more information accessible and update it more regularly. So always looking for input from experts like yourselves.
Yes, thank you, Dora and Jen. That was great. Lots of important data as we look forward to the next phase of the PDG and some of the other great work that is happening in Vermont. Again, very exciting to be in Vermont. I'm always very proud when I get to talk to other state agencies about not only in-state but out-of-state agencies about the tremendous work that Vermont is undertaking on behalf of early childhood, of children, the field. It's really very exciting. So we have time. I don't know if I'm just a super efficient facilitator and I'm just whipping us through the agenda. Everyone's quieter than normal, or if I'm not a good facilitator. I'm gonna look to Beth. How am I doing, Beth? But did I
You're
forget?
doing just fine, but yes, if you want to open up for any updates,
Sure.
close us out.
Absolutely. Let us open for updates.
We certainly got a lion's share of updates from SPARQS and STARS, so that's great. Okay. Fabulous. All right, well, it looks like that's it, Al. Hope you enjoy the sunshine. This meeting is recorded, which I think is really valuable because a lot of folks were wanting those updates who couldn't join us today, so thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome.